All right, so the big question now is on Jay Powell. What he actually said yesterday, do we actually understand what he said? Does he still have a lot of hair in his chest? Does he still think he's Paul Volcker? And is he still going to be very tough? And the key point here, and the reason we have the great Charles Payne, is stock market rallied big time yesterday. It did very well today. In fact, it's done very well year to date. It's like everybody is bearish about the world except the U.S. stock market, okay? So, first of all, I bring in Charles Payne, who has this fabulous show. Charles, welcome.
Thanks.
Always.
It's great being here.
My teleprompter is going wild, so I'll just have to wing it. I don't know what it's doing.
It went straight to thanks, Charles.
It's skipped over everything, so somebody's lost their mind. We have some sound from Jay Powell.
Okay, I got you.
And if we can organize ourselves technologically, I want you to listen to it for
All
1
right,
second.
sounds good.
We're talking about a couple of more rate hikes to get to that level we think is appropriately restrictive.
All right, point number one, to get to that level that's appropriately restrictive. I got another quote for you, too, in a second. What does that mean? Stocks, I mean, is it as tough and mean as it sounds? In which case, why did stocks love it?
I came away. I watched it live on the show yesterday. I had Daniel DiMartino Booth and Ally McCartney with me. And what I took away from it was that Paul Volcker, Jay Powell
Yes.
really believes he can engineer a soft landing. The first thing I took away from it, and the first thing that started to move the needle with the market, because it dropped immediately after the first syllables dripped off his lips, was acknowledging that something is working, that their handiwork is starting to have an impact. They used the word disinflation 13 times.
Wow.
At the December meeting, they used it 0.
Wow.
So they're acknowledging.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're acknowledging that all of those rate hikes, the unprecedented start out the gate on this rate hike cycle, is having impact. But then later on, when he talked about this not being a typical business cycle and getting around that 2% without any significant, underscoring the word significant economic damage, that to me said, this guy believes he could do the old triple Lindy. It's like he can do a cartwheel, backflip, and land with it. I mean, he believes he's going to pull it off. And I don't think he's said anything like that out loud, which, by the way, would sort of distinguish him from a Paul Volcker, who gave, obviously, listen, he already gave us the August 26th speech at Jackson Hole where he said, I'll be like Volcker, and it means a lot of pain. But in his mind, for me at least, the way I interpret it, I think he believes maybe I could do it with minimal pain and pull something off here that's rarely done.
So, okay, let's just stay with that. Let me read you. This is from a Wall Street Journal article, which is a paraphrase of what Jay Powell said. Mr. Powell suggested that he continued to see the risk of not raising rates enough and allowing inflation to reaccelerate to be more dangerous than raising rates too high and causing a recession. So when I look at that, I say, well, he's going to err on the side of over-tightness and doesn't really care about a soft landing. If it takes a recession, we can have a recession to get inflation down. I don't agree with that point of view, Charles, but I think that's what he said.
It's February. A couple more hikes of 25 basis points means we're not even in summertime, and he's paused, right? And would pause to look at their handiwork, look at the lag that he talked about a couple of months ago. And if that lag and pause, during the pause, if he starts to see more of this disinflation, then maybe they don't have to cut rates if they don't crush the economy, if they don't break everything.
He'll never cut rates, Charles.
He'll never cut rates?
They will, not this year.
Oh.
He will go up to 5 1/4.
Yeah.
Which actually, if he's lucky.
He can stay there, though, if they don't crush the economy.
He'll stay there the rest of the year.
If they don't start to crush the economy, though, because we've seen, how many times have we seen these U-turns where, and by the way, the Chicago CME actually sees 2 rate cuts right this year, November and December. But here's the beautiful thing. He doesn't have to cut rates if he doesn't destroy the economy. And I think Wall Street would be okay with the, Fed funds rates at 5%, 5 1/4. As long as they know that the Fed is going to stop. Like before, the talk was they have to break things. That's what everybody says, and it's not just enough to break housing. It's not just enough to break manufacturing, which we've seen some really rough signs.
They're already broken.
Right. So,
consumers.
He started with the preamble. Listen, we know that, to your point, because Main Street doesn't get it. He's getting a lot of political pushback, and I think that's why he said that as well. He said it twice. Inflation is harder for all Americans than the alternative. He finished up. inflation is tougher for all Americans than the alternative, because also he's starting to hear the political pressure as well.
The stock market has surprised almost everyone, all right? Perhaps not yourself, but I'm just saying people were very bearish coming into the year. Market year to date has done extremely well. Not just yesterday, but it's done very well. The S&P 500 has done well. The NASDAQ, which got so clobbered last year, has done very well. Now, is this, I'm a long-term investor.
Sure,
I don't know
sure.
anything about the shorter term. You do. You understand the market. So is this a triumph of hope over experience, or is there something going on here underneath it? Markets are saying things are not so bad,
Right.
or things are better than you expect them to be. And the economists who are predicting 65% are predicting recession. It's like the market's saying you're wrong.
It is like the market saying that, but also last year was the fourth worst year since the end of World War II.
Yeah.
And it was the worst in maybe 100 years when you take in the bond market and the stock market. So a lot of damage was done. This rally is being led by the most beaten down stocks. Here's the crazy thing. The 10th most beaten down percentage stocks last year are up almost 25% on average this year. The leaders are unchanged. So the complete flip around. I think there's a couple good things with this rally. It's a reminder that stocks do and can go up from time to time. Pessimism, I think, particularly Wall Street pessimism. I know there's a lot about the so-called dumb money and retail investors. When I see Wall Street extremely pessimistic, I get excited.
Aren't the retail investors always smarter?
They do very well. I mean, it's
I'm
not
a real
the
contrarian.
stock picking part of it. It's the managing the trade part of it that I wish I could help them with more.
Okay.
You know, you buy a stock and it goes up 100% the next day. You might want to take some profits. They're like, you know what? I'm gonna get another 100 tomorrow. So
Do you like the market right now?
I love what's happening with this market right now.
Me too. The Kudlow Trust likes it too.
I bet
wanna
it
say
does.
that.
I'm checking out them new suits.
The great Charles Payne. Such a pleasure. Folks, catch him weekdays, of course, at 2 p.m. Eastern, right here on Fox Business. And tomorrow, he's got an exclusive interview with San Francisco Federal Reserve President Mary Daly. Good luck on that, Charles. Thank you for coming
Thanks
on
a lot.
today.
Appreciate it.
A triumph of hope over experience. I don't care why stocks are going up. It helps.